Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're tuned in from. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of What Now? I have an amazing guest today, and I'm excited to talk to her. Wendy Day is my guest today, and I have been such a fan of hers in forever. Thank you all for joining. Everyone is on time. That's great. I love when my people just want to join in for the conversation. Just know that if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the question box. I will try to get to all the questions at my convenience. Might not always be right away in the conversation because I like to have my guests stay talking. As you can see, I got my lights on. I just realized that I've done this live talk throughout the entire summer, because we're going back to darkness again. We're going towards wintertime, but I am still enjoying it, and I have such amazing guests still coming up. I'm full booked, and so yeah, I'm very excited to keep this talk going and everyone stays motivated. There's Wendy, so let me get her in here. I am so excited. Understand how much this means to me. All right then. Wendy!
How are you?
I am so great, thanks to you. Thank you so much for doing this.
I am so happy to be here. Look at your hair. It's gorgeous.
Oh my gosh. You know what? I've had such a busy day, and I was looking at this hair. I'm like, I don't have the time to do it, but it looks like it's so long. I gotta cut it. But yeah, thank you. First of all, I have been a major fan of you and your work probably since the early 2000s when I first heard of you. And I've always wanted to talk to you, but I'm also a person that feels like, timing is everything. It happens when it happens. You meet people when you need to meet people. Sometimes you just got to let the universe take control on that.
Right.
And so, I reached out to you last year. I don't even know if you remember that, but I have read an article, an interview that you did for Music Business, I think. And
that was a great interview.
Yeah, that was a great interview. And that's when I was like, oh man, this lady, I gotta hit her up. I hit you up, you gave me your email, and I just didn't get the time or the right situation to really talk to you about things. So I kind of left it. And then this happened. So
amazing. And shout out to Court Digga for
yes.
I love him.
Yeah, Court has been so instrumental in some of my guests getting on here. Like it's a steady flow of amazing people that are inspiring, that have story to tell, knowledge to share. So you are definitely a person that fits in that whole list.
So glad.
Yeah. Again, I gotta tone down my fangirl and get into my journalism.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's gonna be fun.
So for the people that are joining now, I started this What Now talk to motivate and inspire creatives because of the pandemic that hit. The whole entertainment industry shut down in March, and everyone was frustrated. So I figured, you know what, let's have these conversations so people can see that they're not the only ones, that people that they may look up to or are in the same business are still finding ways to stay creative or generate business.
Yes.
And so that's kind of how it started, but it became more bigger than that, inspiring as far as people's stories in general, other than just the pandemic. But I want to start off by asking you, how has the pandemic affected you personally and professionally?
I think I got COVID back in March, and I have to admit to you that I didn't take COVID seriously at first. Right. I sort of had the "it can't happen to me" attitude.
Right.
It did not slow me down at all until I heard that the NBA shut down. When the NBA shut down and I knew the billions of dollars that were at stake, I thought, oh shit, this is real.
Right, exactly.
So I immediately shut down too. I finished out that week of meetings. ATL Jacob was my last meeting before I went inside into COVID. And then about a week and a half after that, I started to get what I thought was a chest cold. And I had already stopped watching the news because the news really scared me. Like,
Right.
it just upset me too much. So I cut out all news and just really started doing something that I've never really done before, and that's watching Netflix and chill. I
Yeah.
got some Wendy time, and I'm not used to that. So when I first started getting sick, I had already heard two of my friends had passed, two like distant friends had
Right.
passed COVID. So my first thought was, I'm going to die.
Oh gosh,
And I was
no.
really scared,
Yeah.
Um, oh my God, what if this gets worse? What do I do? So I had all these plans in my head. I've got a little dog and I live alone. So my plan was, okay, I'm going to have to take the dog to the kennel, and then, um, and then
Hey,
I'll
you
be,
were making plans.
oh, I was making plans like crazy. Like, okay, here's what we do if it's between 8 and 6 when they're open. Here's what we do if it's after that. Like, I had just all these like escape plans going on in my.
Right, right.
And then the most wonderful thing in the world started to happen. I started to get better. And I had a very, very, very mild case.
Right.
It turned out to be a bad cough for about 5 weeks. And it felt like somebody was sitting on my chest, but I didn't die. And
That
that was the
means
great
that
part.
that means your immune system is really, really on point.
It is being
So yeah.
over, and I am older. So
Yeah.
I couldn't tick all those boxes for
Yeah.
people who don't make it. And a lot of people younger than me and healthier than me actually passed away. So
Yeah.
hugely thankful. Other than that, other than people dying and people getting sick, COVID, and I call it the zombie apocalypse. The
Yeah.
zombie apocalypse was amazing for me. I learned a lot about myself. I learned that I really love being alone, and I really like spending time alone. I'm very much an introvert, which
Yeah.
I knew. I'm also very much of an empath. So like when I feel
Yeah.
people's feelings
Yeah.
and
Same.
I soak up, oh my God, it's horrendous. I soak up like a lot of the energy around
Yeah.
me. So I need that time to download. And when I got to spend time by myself and I didn't pay attention to the news or any of the insanity that was
Yeah.
going on in the world, I found that my life was really calm and wonderful. And I really, really, really liked it. I also discovered that the thing that really keeps me going out here in the real world is the fear of missing something. When we were all
Yeah.
down at the same time and nobody could do anything, I didn't feel like I was missing anything. So I was,
FOMO is that
oh, yeah,
FOMO is what's hitting everyone nowadays. Yeah. I don't have it.
I love that. I wish. So I was able to really like relax for the
Yeah.
first in 50 years, you know, and it gave me a chance to catch up on things around the house, like little things like changing the doorknobs on my doors to make my house look a little more.
Right, right.
And I got to play with my dog and actually spend the full day with my dog instead of working. I caught up on a lot of stuff that I wanted to do, like just for me personally.
Right.
Started learning how to speak Spanish, which I've always wanted to
Wow.
do. I started reading books again, which I don't normally have time to do. I got to partake in a lot of the club quarantine events,
Oh
like
yeah, yeah.
Be Nice was doing, which
Yeah.
was amazing, and the Versus events. And I just really, it was actually fun and rewarding. And
Yeah.
I say that because I know that people died and I know that businesses, lost their livelihood, but it didn't really affect me financially. My clients are all still making money. The only difference is they can't tour.
Right.
The bulk of my clients are too new to tour anyway, and we've always found other ways to make money, like
Right.
merch or through different events online or private parties,
Right.
where they can reach a smaller amount of people. And of course the money's smaller too, but at least
But it's
there's,
still money. Yeah.
it's still
I'd
money.
rather have a bunch of small money than no money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
Okay, so
Financially,
Um,
it hasn't impacted me personally.
right.
I've got more clients than ever right now, and I just attribute that to being honest and good at what I do.
Yeah. Well, obviously, you have like a half the world at your feet. I mean, look at all the people coming in, all the comments. People, I really appreciate you. Please put your questions in the question box because I don't want to keep cutting in the conversation. So we'll get to the questions when we get a moment.
You're going to need to lead me on that because I'm not even reading the comments.
No, see, I'm glancing through it, but if there are actual questions, put them in the question box, people, and I will get to it. We might not get to it right away because I do want this to be a flowing conversation, full of information.
Yeah.
So one of the things, well, first of all, you're the first guest that I have or have had that actually says they had COVID. So that was a first for me. You're talk number 50 something for me.
Wow.
Yeah, I started end of March and it's just been going. But one thing that everyone has in common is they're saying that they're actually had the time to rest, to do things for themselves. You know, as creatives, especially entrepreneurs, we're always running, we're always doing stuff, we're always thinking about the next venture instead of really taking the time out to sit down. People had time to spend with their families. People had time to just work on themselves, their mental health, their physical health. Touring takes a toll on musicians. So a lot of people have been implementing healthier routines.
Yes.
And so my question to them, so also to you, is now realizing that this time was good for you to recharge, to do things that make you happy, aside from, you know, the work that makes you happy. How are you planning on sticking to that if, and I say if because I don't know when, if it's going to happen, if the world will go back to semi-normal state?
New normal. I call it the new normal. I live in Atlanta and we've gone back to the new normal. Everything is back open. Health clubs. Wow. Sadly, even clubs are open.
Wow.
Yes. And
without social distancing, just people going into the club?
There's social distancing, supposedly.
Right.
And you're supposed to wear a mask, supposedly.
Right.
A lot of people have the "it can't happen to me" attitude.
Right.
So I've noticed that a lot of people just don't think it can happen to them.
Right.
And I didn't either. I was one of those people that thought, oh, you know, what happened?
I know, right?
I'm very, very lucky because I got a very mild case of it.
Right.
It didn't even put me in bed. It was that mild. It just gave me a really off, and it felt like somebody was sitting on my chest.
Yeah.
It just was uncomfortable. Unfortunately, I'm already back to the way that I was pre. And I'm sad to admit that because I would like to sit here and tell you that I learned from it. One of the things that I did learn that really made me proud of myself was that I really stepped up and led. And I didn't expect that from me. I mean, I kind of did. I'm very much a leader in my space. But when I noticed that the artists were kind of suffering and they didn't know what to do, I reached out to some of the guys that I know that had served long prison sentences. And I asked them, hey, what did you do when you were in the hole, when you were in that area where you couldn't, interact with other people? Yeah. What did you do? How did you cope? And they gave me a lot of coping mechanisms. So what I did was, as soon as I got better, actually even before I started to get better, I started doing this COVID challenge with my Instagram followers. And every day for 30 days, I gave them a different task.
Right.
And did it with them. So like one day it was, let's clean up your Instagram. The next day it was, let's read a book for the next week. The next day it was, let's study how Google ads work. So every we had a little bit of a task, and it was a pretty hefty task. It wasn't like stick a simple wall. Yeah, it was like hours worth of work. And there were quite a few people that kept up with me, and I'm really shocked that they did. But by the time we got through that 30-day period, all of us had our YouTube pages ready to go, all of our social media ready
in order. Yeah.
like we were just ready. I had already read, I think I read 4 books that month. And
Wow.
it only really told people to read one, and they could read whatever they wanted. I made some recommendations, but I didn't, it just had to be a business book. I
Yeah.
didn't care what they read, as long as they read something, got one lesson and posted that lesson, you know, what they got from it.
Yeah.
Got to go through and read all the hashtags and see what other
Wow.
people learned, which then told me which books I wanted to go read next.
Right.
Bought like 10 books and started to read them. But other than the reading, unfortunately, I'm back to my nightmarish Wendy Day schedule.
But
So,
do you want to, you're realizing it, which is great, but are you going to do something about it, or are
yes.
you?
No, I'm gearing up to do something about it. What I just recently did was I secured office space. I'm actually in an office now.
Okay.
I started with this office space the last week in July, when I felt comfortable enough to start going back
Yeah.
into the world myself.
Right.
And then I hired someone to help me, Shauna Reed, who's been amazing. She's just taken a lot of the load off of me.
Yeah.
And then I'm probably going to hire for 2 more positions. And that will take so much of the load off of
Yeah.
me.
Very good.
And I'm going to be able to, like, you know, like go home at 6 o'clock at
Nice.
night and read and watch TV and play with my dog. And that's the
Yeah.
goal.
Change the rest of your doorknobs.
Yes. Change my damn doorknobs. I've got 3 left.
Okay, well, see, still work to do. I'm happy to hear that you're actually realizing that you went straight back into your old habits and that you are now making a change, because those are probably the hardest things to do. For some people, we've been like 5 months in now. Some people haven't even changed out of their old habits yet and are still struggling what to do. So
Wow.
these talks are helping. So you having that 30-day challenge is really good that you did that, to
It was great.
help people take the first step into doing something.
Yes.
Again, similar to what I'm doing with these talks, I had one every evening until I was tired, and then I had like 3 or 4 a week, and then I was still tired, and then work picked up, and so now I got 2 a week.
Beautiful. I love doing this.
Yeah, and I didn't expect it to go this well, but people want to stay inspired and people want to hear the knowledge. So
yes,
I had 2 people who were in prison who also spoke about their time being locked up. So that was really amazing for them to share that. Then I had Jay Hatch, who wrote a book. So whoever didn't read his book, how I quit, how I left my job and made it in the music industry, go read that book. I actually was able to give one away, so send me a DM if you are interested in one of those books. And there's a book that I'm reading right now, because a guest that I have, Romeo Johnson, singer and vocal coach, he wrote a book which is also about the industry and how to navigate and how to stay, keep your integrity. So that's a book that I can recommend as well. Moving into getting information and getting to know the Wendy behind the business, because obviously you've done so many interviews. Everybody admires and respects you for the business, but I also always like to know the person behind the business. My question has always been, when I first learned about you, is how did you get into doing what you do? What made you decide to help artists, particularly hip-hop artists?
I came to it through the music first. In 1980, which was long before any of your viewers were born.
I was there.
I went to a concert in Philadelphia where I lived at the time, and I went to see the Psychedelic Furs, which is a rock group. And the opening act was Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, which is and when I saw them perform, it was like, I mean, I was so taken and amazed, and that started me down the path to find out what else was going on in hip hop. And I lived in Philly, which is 90 miles south of New York City. So, you know, for a 2-hour drive, I could go to New York, get all of the latest music also there was a store called Sound of Market Street that was in Philadelphia downtown, and they used to get all of the current music. It would come in, like somebody would go into the club and record on cassette whatever
Right.
was happening that Saturday night, and then they'd send them out all over the country. So by the following Tuesday, not the exact Tuesday after, but a Tuesday a week later, we would all have what was in the clubs the week before. And I was getting those every Tuesday. I was getting like 5 or 6 of them. So I was listening to battles. I was listening to just the music that was playing in the clubs. I was listening to anybody that came through live and performed, like Rick and Dougie Fresh.
Right.
It was really
That's
kind
really dope.
of time. Yes, and it was all about the culture, and I really loved watching guys break dance, and I really loved, or b-boying, I guess is the politically correct term. I love graffiti to this day. I love graffiti, you know,
Oh,
and
art. Yeah.
yes, just the art and the fashion, you know, the way we dressed in hip hop, you know, it was an amazing time. And when I went away to Montreal for 3 years, I lived in Montreal, and I worked for a liquor company. And when I came back to the US, I realized that I wanted to do something different, and I didn't want to do sales anymore or marketing, which is kind of funny because that's what I do now.
Yeah, I was about to say.
But I wanted to do something a little bit different, and I wanted to give back to the rappers for the love that I had for the culture and for the music
Right.
that they were kind of giving. And I was learning that they don't really make a lot of money, and they don't, you know, it's not really what it seems. And I realized that I had the skill set to be able to help people, and I had the mindset, which was even more important, because there's not a whole lot of money in helping people in the
Right.
music industry. And I didn't ever want to be one of those people that took advantage of artists. I always wanted to be the person that stopped people from taking advantage.
Yeah.
And I realized that I could do that, so I stepped up and just started doing it.
Well, that's exactly what I've been doing, pretty much for 20 years now.
That's amazing.
It's a tough job, you
It
know,
is.
standing up for the little guy,
Yes.
especially the independence, not for everyone. Not for everyone. It's sometimes it can be very unrewarding, but the biggest reward I always say is the gratitude and the love for the music that you get back.
For me, it's definitely the love for the music. I don't see a lot of gratitude in the music business, but
From
that
your
does,
clients?
yeah, even for my
Oh,
clients, but
really?
that doesn't bother me because that's not what I'm in it for. You know,
Right.
a lot of a lot of people, my clients included, really just want fame and money, and they don't really care how they get it, whether
Right.
deliver it to them or somebody else delivers it to them. And the irony is that they really have to deliver it to themselves. Like, I can't make somebody,
Make them. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
can't
That's
put somebody on. Nobody can. They've
right.
really got to do it themselves. I can just guide them and show them how. And I guess it's not fair to say that people aren't grateful, because they are, you know.
But I was about to say, like, I can't imagine them not being grateful for getting the help from you. I mean, you've built a name now. I mean, obviously, when you first started, it may not have been as big as now. But one of the things that I have in my criteria list is work ethic and being a good person. Aside from being talented, I can't work with assholes. Even if I'm in it for the love of music,
Yeah.
I've learned not that I can't do that, but that's me. So
Yeah.
I applaud you if you do
I do.
that. And so I have even more respect for you, because
Yeah.
I'll pass them on to you because I'm not helping them.
I get that. You know, of all the clients that I've had, I've only ever fired one client, and I'm not going to embarrass him by saying his name. He knows who
Right,
he
you
is.
don't have to.
And I would never. But out of everybody that I've worked with, there's only been one person all these years that's just been so extraordinarily difficult that I just, after 11 months, I'm like, I'm out. I can't do this anymore. I'm sorry. I
But you
tried.
have your reaching point too.
I did, yeah. I tried to give him his money back. His investor said, no, you've done more than enough. And, you know, we get it. We know how we,
Right.
and thank you very much for everything you've done.
Yeah, well, I've had to say that a few times, and not necessarily because they were assholes, but they were just unworkable with like, um, I do master classes on music marketing and management, and one of the things that I've noticed, especially in this new age and new era of music, is that people think a manager or a consultant is an assistant or a secretary. That
Or
is one of the things that I immediately address. Like the definition of a manager doesn't have to be the same because not every artist needs the same stuff or the same help. But I'm definitely not anyone's assistant, especially if I don't get paid enough for that. So that's the distinction that I have to make before people don't start mixing up their place and the working relationship. So yeah, I definitely applaud you for being probably better than me for being able to put up with that. I
I,
might get to your
I,
level.
I
What is for you one of the what you feel is one of the biggest mistakes you've made in the business that turned out to be your biggest lesson?
not having the right contracts with people. Very early on in my career, I felt like artists should be able to come and go if they weren't happy, because it never crossed my mind that somebody would leave,
Yep.
they didn't want to pay a fee, as
Oh
opposed
my
to
God.
not being happy. So unfortunately, I had to institute a new policy pretty quickly and
Yep.
have people sign agreements that they just can't leave right when the
Yeah.
money comes.
And I had to, that's the same lesson I learned. Like, and I love that you say that because it makes me feel like, okay, I'm getting in the same journey as Wendy. But yeah, that was, and it's because you start doing it out of the love. And you feel like, hey, man, we're going somewhere together. So, one makes money, we all make money. But that's just unfortunately not the case.
You think that when you can make somebody hundreds of thousands of dollars, that
You
they,
would get at least $10, but
well, you would think that they would think, okay, she made me 100,000, maybe she could make me 1 million. So
yeah,
like, I'm not a short-term thinker, so it just
right.
crossed
Love
my
money. Yeah,
mind would think that, like, oh, let me rob her for this quick 100,000, and I'll just go
yeah,
off and make more. And the reality is that there's a vibe and I don't know how to explain it, but like a machine that comes with a team that you're with.
yeah.
And you're moving forward solidly. Anything that you remove from that movement is going to
It's just
fuck up.
gonna, yeah, 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 yeah. The
And when
formula is gone. Yeah.
picture, yeah, when I got removed from the picture, it ended up, and it's funny because I'm not even talking about cash money. It When removed from the picture, I watched the artist's career kind of dwindle from
Right,
where we were, and it was heartbreaking because it didn't have to be that way,
right.
and it was basically over $100,000.
Yeah. But that may have been a lesson to them as well.
It
I
may have
mean,
been.
because I had a similar situation with an artist, and I look at it as, well, I helped the person, and I'm not going to say they're going to keep being like that, but maybe they've learned their lesson because they see what's now not going well without me
Right.
involved. But that's for them. I'm just moving on.
Exactly.
Um,
A
what
great
is,
It was a
yeah.
great lesson for me. Um, I had just finished reading the 48 Laws of Power,
Oh,
so I
yeah.
kind of understood what may have been going on in that artist's mind, and
Yeah.
realized it wasn't necessarily personal. It
Right.
was it was a situation within his personality that just decided that the money had more value than the
Yeah.
people with him.
And you know what? 9 out of 10 times is one of the biggest advices that I got from actually a great artist, a rapper. He once told me, "Pay, it's not always about you." And it
Correct.
just hit me so hard that I apply that ever since to everything in my
Yeah,
life. And if you live with that thing in your head, like it's not about me, then you easily let things go and you don't take things personal.
exactly.
And if it is personal, then you have to tell me straight up because I'm just not going to take it personal.
Exactly.
And 9 out of 10 times when artists do those things, it's because they have some mindset about what they want in their career or whatever. It has nothing to do with me unless you actually say, hey, you did something wrong.
Exactly.
But
And
yeah, it really helped me.
I went on to build some amazing careers for some amazing artists, you know, so it didn't stop me.
Right.
And that was also a big learning experience for me, because a lot of people, when they hit strife or unpleasant situations, it makes them say, oh, fuck it. And then they go get a job elsewhere or doing something different. And with me, that was never a consideration. So it kind of showed me what I was made of, you know?
I mean, Corona shows that now. Like, people are actually telling me as well, like, hey, you just keep going. You don't, I mean, this is what I've been doing. My whole life has been a struggle. So, you know, I've had the experience to always cope with problems and thinking in solutions. So when Corona hit and everybody's like, ooh, I'm like, well, I mean, story of my life, you know, let's go. We still going.
Like,
and it does show you, but that's what I also meant with working with certain artists. There's some criteria that I really, I hold myself to. Work ethic, being a good person, you know, working with a team, being open-minded. Those things are very important to me, and integrity. I mean, maybe I'm too, how do you say that? Idealistic.
No, I that. And I wish I could be, you know, I have a lot of integrity myself. So when I see other people don't, it's heartbreaking for me. So even if I'm a client that doesn't have a lot of integrity, like, he may think he's getting over on other people, but what it is, it's crimping me.
Yes.
It's not allowing me to be the full Wendy Day with them that I could be.
Exactly.
It makes me disappointed. I don't even know the word I want. Almost disgusted.
Frustrated, maybe.
Yeah, almost disgusted. Like, see somebody, you know, like if I have an artist who doesn't pay a producer for a track,
I don't want to be associated with that.
They think they're getting over. It's like, okay, now that I've seen something ugly in your personality, it makes it hard for me to go hard for you.
Yeah. But that's exactly why I say I can't work with certain people, because I don't want to be associated with a person that does things that I don't necessarily condone. And I don't talk about little things, but real, like, you know, real life things like principles and values. But I mean, that again, maybe I'm too idealistic, but
to like who I am. Like, at the end of the day, I don't go home with my clients or my rappers or their music. Me. So I have to be comfortable with who I am, and I really like and love who I am. And that's really important to me, more than anything, more than the money, more than accolades, more than anything. So that's something that I focus on. Like, I need to believe in me.
Yeah. Well, I agree with that. You're the one that has to look yourself in the mirror. For everyone that's leaving comments, I do glance through it. I saw somebody asking if this was going to be up on IGTV. Well, Instagram has ruined some talks for me by errors and not uploading it. So hopefully this one will go well. But if, in any case, all the live talks are supposed to be on my IGTV. Oh, shout out Romeo and Emily. I see you guys in there. So Romeo, I was just promoting your book. Romeo Johnson, people, if you don't know who he is, go check him out and read his book. Wendy, what are some of the things that, what is the most asked question that you get from artists?
How do I get a record deal? The number one.
Still to this day, with all the independent options?
It's still the number one question that I get.
Number one question.
And it's super surprising to me, Pay, because I feel like I'm almost anti get a deal.
Same. I say it all the time. Like, keep your money for yourself as long as you can.
And it floors me that I'm still asked that. It's like, oh my God, I still have to deal with this. And it's funny because I wrote a book called How to Get a Record Deal.
Right.
And that book, it really talks about why you'd want to stay independent.
Right.
It does answer the questions for the people that really desperately want that. And I do realize not everybody is entrepreneurial. Not everybody can do this themselves. But even in today's world, if you want a record deal, you still have to do
A lot
all,
yourself.
all of the work that you would do to stay independent. So why
Especially in today's environment, because labels are not working the same way they used
no,
to, because they know that they don't have that same position anymore.
right?
So and this is something that I immediately say when people come to me for help or advice, and the first thing is like, don't expect me to get you a record deal, because that's not what I'm focusing on. I'm focusing on getting your career to the next level, and
I'm with you.
doing that independently. You should want people to come at you and offer you deals instead of going to people and getting deals.
Exactly. And
So,
and that happens with my clients. So I'm hugely thankful for that. But I'm still amazed that people will come up to me and say, Wendy, how do I get a record deal?
that's real old school. Yeah.
It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
You want to do what?
Wow. I'm also surprised that was the most asked question.
Number one question.
Going into something completely different, and people, I do see your questions. I will get to those. I want to know, because you've worked with so many incredible artists, like just your whole resume speaks for itself. I want to know one funny anecdote or situation that you remember the rest of your life with an artist. What was it, and who was it, and what happened?
Tupac Shakur. I befriended Tupac when he was incarcerated, and I went to see him, and he had an amazing sense of humor, which I did not really know at the time. And while he was incarcerated, I sent him books, and we had written back and forth. And in order to go see him, they put him in a prison all the way at the top of New York State. And it was right at the Montreal border. He was in Clinton Correctional Facility. And if you remember, I said I had lived in Montreal. So it was nothing for me to drive 6 hours to the border, because I had been doing it, to visit family when I lived to New York, whatever. So it didn't really faze me. So I left at 2:00 in the morning, and I drove all night, and I got there at 8 a.m. and I was able to sit with him, and they seated us right in front of the control tower, like the booth where the guards sat, so they could hear everything we were saying.
Right.
And he was telling me that he had an appeal coming, and he had finally hired an attorney. I think it was Charles Oglethorpe was his name, and it was looking good. He really thought that he was going to be let out of jail and let out of prison, and he was pretty excited. And as he was telling me about his excitement, this was in September, and he was incarcerated, I think, around January-ish. So he had already served about 8 months, and he right as his album released, which is the worst time for an artist to be incarcerated, because they can't market and promote and back up their record. So I was kind of angry about that. I'm like, well, I love that you're getting out. That's amazing. But like, dude, can you turn around and sue them for giving you this, that incarcerated you for 8 months? Like what can you do?
Right.
And he, without missing a beat, said to me, no, I think I'm just going to ask for a credit, because at some point I'm going to be back in here. And I just thought that was the funniest shit I ever said. Like, I could picture him saying to the judge, okay, I just served 9 months. You overruled it. You said sorry that you served 9 months. It was an accident. And I could just see him saying, yo, can I get a credit for that?
Right.
It was just, I had tears coming out of my eyes. It was so funny. Even the guards laughed.
Do you know if that ever happened? Him getting the credit?
No, he unfortunately died before it was over.
Right. So how did you meet him when he was incarcerated? How did you get in touch with him?
It's funny you should ask. When he was on trial, he felt that some people were trying to kill him, and I had a great relationship with some guys who were Fruit of Islam, and I asked them if they wouldn't mind protecting him between the time when he was found guilty and when he was incarcerated, which was a very short amount of time. He had just been, I guess, mugged, for lack of a better term, at Quad. We all know the story.
Okay.
And I did that very privately. I didn't tell anyone that I had done it. Obviously, my inner circle knew. The word got out, and he wrote me a thank you note, and he thanked me for sending them to watch out for him
Yeah.
while he was, out and about. And he said that, it's the kindest thing that anybody had ever done as a fan,
Yeah.
and that it was awesome that I liked his music enough to want to help him. And that wasn't the case. And I'm just one of those people, I couldn't let it ride.
That's funny.
I had to write back and say, okay, look, motherfucker, I'm not, you're loud, you're obnoxious, you bring all this shit on yourself. Like, I
Right.
kind of told him about himself. And it's not because I wasn't happy to have helped him. I kind
Right.
of saw it as my job as Rap Coalition to help artists that were in need, no matter what it was.
Right.
And
Right.
had the resource, it would have been negligent for me not to call in that favor for him.
Yeah. Well, that's
And
awesome.
yeah, and he wrote me back, and when that letter arrived, I cringed because I'm like, oh, he's going to give it right back to me. This is not going to be a happy moment in Wendy's life. But it was a very
Yeah.
nice letter. He understood. He took what I said very well, and I realized that he was an amazing human being.
Yeah.
And
I would take him for that. I didn't know him personally, but I
yeah,
would think he would appreciate it actually.
he did.
Yeah.
And he's like, wow, you did this because
Yeah.
it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Instead of liking my music, I'm like, yeah, your beats are garbage, boo. Like, the worst ever. Except for
That's
like 4
hilarious.
songs, right?
That is so hilarious. I'm going to go to some of the questions because they're
Let's do it.
piling up, and I'm looking at the time. Let me see. Okay, I'm gonna have to really sort through this. Somebody asks, how can I protect myself as a beat maker when I send my files to an engineer to be mixed?
I'm not exactly sure what you mean, protect yourself.
I think that for people to jack his beats or whatever.
Unfortunately, that's going to happen. And I hate that answer because it should never happen to anybody ever. If your music is copyrighted, you can at least sue, and you can sue for legal fees and damages if you have copyrighted your songs. If you have not, like if you do that poor man's copyright that we seem to love to do, it's where you send it to yourself and you sign across the back of the envelope, you can still sue. You just can't sue for damages.
Right. Okay. More questions. What's the best advice when you could give someone who's got a deal on the table? I can't read the rest.
Best or worst case scenario.
Oh, that's the worst case scenario.
Thing. The best advice I can give you is to have a powerful entertainment attorney there by your side. Even when I negotiate deals, and I've been negotiating deals, I've probably done somewhere between 15 and 20 deals over the past 28 years, and I still have a lawyer by my side.
Right.
They don't always love me because I often ask for things that aren't realistic, but then I often get them. So
okay.
if you don't ask, you don't know. But I would have a really great entertainment attorney, somebody that's done it before, somebody that is going to get paid on the back end so that
right.
you pay them up front, and somebody that is well respected by the labels. It doesn't mean they have to be loved. It doesn't mean they have to be hated, but respect in this industry matters.
Okay, so I see a lot of people asking about working with you, and if you work with different types of genres, as far as Christian rap or I saw rock and roll rap.
Yes, I do.
Do you go outside the hip hop genre as well?
I have, yes. I'm working with a pop artist right now. Yes, hip hop is my love. So that always takes precedent over all other kinds of music. But I am a fan of music and I love music. That doesn't mean I have to love somebody's music to work with them, but they have a fan base. It can't be, the music can't be terrible. There's got to be some
it's got to be a
marketability. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Again, that doesn't mean that I have to love it. I'm not a fan necessarily of Christian rap, but I love Chance the Rapper, who to me is a Christian, you know.
Oh, I know some really good Christian rappers who I didn't think were Christian rappers. So yeah.
Exactly.
And it's a big market too. It's big business.
It is.
There's a lot of money in that too.
And there's a lot of skullduggery, which is a nice way to say fuckery, in gospel and Christian rap. And you would think that wouldn't be the case.
Oh no.
To have, you know, like some sort of spirituality, but no.
No, it's the same. Trust me, I've worked with a Christian rapper and same fuckery happens. So
it's crazy. It's almost you know, it's almost worse. And the one thing that most people need to understand about me, if they really want to work with me, is that I don't look for clients. So for somebody to work with me, they've got to have a budget of at least $250,000. For me, it takes at least $150,000 minimum to get an artist to a point where they're making money back. And I don't do this to build fame. I don't do this so that an artist will be popular. I do this so that an artist can feed their family. So threshold. And if they go to helpfulangel.com, it specifies exactly what that threshold is. All of the prices are there. I'm very transparent. I show you exactly what I charge, what I do, and how it works.
Great, because a lot of people were asking that. So I guess that's answered. Okay, so there's a lot of industry questions. I don't want to get into details because this is people asking for themselves, like more detailed questions. I don't want this live to be about that.
Like so doctors giving a talk and it's like, oh, I have this back pain. Is this one of those?
Right. And that's fine. I appreciate everybody trying to get information, but this interview still has a purpose for me and my audience. So
my world.
I mean, shit, it's still my interview. Okay, so what criteria other than the threshold do you have working with people?
It needs to be, the music needs to be marketable. And as I'm getting older, I'm getting a little more crotchety. So I really look for people that are coachable. I don't want to have to fight you to be successful. I don't want to drag you across the finish line. This is not, it's a lot.
No, they have to do the work.
They have to actually do the work.
It's a team effort.
I'm not a manager. I'm not a babysitter. I'm not their mom.
Right.
I actually need for artists who are coachable and want to do the work. So I really look at work ethic. I really look at people's work ethic.
Okay.
Somebody asked way more people than I work with.
Well, that's what I said. My criteria, but the number one point on my criteria list is work ethic. Because I'm not here to run for everybody else's career either.
Exactly.
And mutual support. I mean, I'm not in a position you are, Wendy, but I'm still building my business. So if somebody is not supporting my business while I'm supporting yours, then that's not working for me either. What was the website? Somebody asked.
Helpfulangel.com. Angel.com.
Okay, cool. So one of the things that I do in my talks is I'm a firm believer in speaking things into existence. And I do this for my guests. So one of the questions that I want to ask you in order to speak it into existence is, with all the people that you've worked with, is there still a person or more people on your bucket list that you would love to work with in this lifetime?
Well, there's not so much a person or people that I want to work with, but there is something that I want to accomplish next. And I saw where this was going. That's why I did the little happy dance. Yeah. I'm trying to build an incubator for rappers right now. And it's really more of an accelerator if you're familiar with the tech world. But I call it incubator because a lot of the guys that I work with don't understand what an accelerator is. But I want to build a company that offers artists label services and teaches them hands-on how to make money with their music. I'm trying to cut out the investor, and I want to go directly to the artist. But in order to do this, it still takes money. So I'm in the process right now of raising money so that I can do that. And then the artists that I work with are going to have some money to put up because I need them to have skin in the game. But while they're part of the incubator, there'll be a profit split depending on how much money we have to put up. And then once they leave after 2 or 3 years and they've learned how to run their company on their own, they've learned how to sign other artists, they've learned how to market and promote and build their brand, I want them to leave with 100% ownership. I want them to leave with 100% of their masters and 100% of their publishing. And that's making it a little bit challenging to find an investor, because investors want ownership for the life of the artist's career, and I'm not willing
I
to.
may have an investor for you that doesn't want that. So we'll connect.
Love that.
Yeah, I definitely, and there's some other things that I would want to bring to you because it might be interesting for you and your artists. So we'll talk about that after this. Let's see. There's
question. I love that question, because I think that this is the future of the music business, and I think more people need to do this, and we need to really step up. And I learned early on that I was never going to become wealthy in the music business, so I learned how to invest in real estate. I learned how to flip houses.
Yeah.
So I could make money in other ways. Even though I charge a lot for what I do, I have a staff to pay. I have office space. You know, I've got life and family and all that stuff that everybody has. And I can't take on enough clients to be able to flip the money in music to be able to build the incubator. So I'm trying to do it right now in real estate, which is interesting.
But I still got something for you that can help with that.
I'm
not just saying this, it's an actual opportunity for you to flip it. We'll definitely talk about that.
Absolutely.
I'll take a few more questions. Let me see. People say they have there's general questions. Man, it's about promo strategies, how people can best promote their music. People need help with building their indie labels.
To help themselves, and I'm just going to talk while you're finding the question, is have really great music. Like, don't just have mediocre music. If you can have great music, you're going to really stand out.
Yeah.
I mean, really great music. You'll stand out.
And be yourself. Don't try to be like somebody else that's already successful, because a lot of artists that I see nowadays and talk to are trying to do it like somebody successful. That's never going to work.
Yes.
You might be lucky with that, but that's not the way to go about it, because what people fail to understand is there's no one road to success. There's no one strategy to success. Everybody has a different journey. It includes luck, it includes hard work, it includes talent, it includes a team, a good team. And going back to that whole record label deal or not, if you have a good team, because you said not every artist has that entrepreneurial spirit or mind.
Exactly.
If you have a good team that can do that for you, you still don't need the label.
Absolutely. And understand that having great music doesn't mean that you like it or I like it. That's subjective. You know, thing by great music is fans that are willing to stream and buy your merch and come to your shows. And really, that's
it
doesn't matter.
I don't work with just people that I'm a fan of. Like we as artist consultants can't just pick and choose just because we like it. I work with a lot of artists that I would not play, but I think are great, have the great passion for it, great talent, love the music. I just wouldn't buy it.
Same.
That doesn't mean there's not a market that does.
Because somebody marketed and promoted the music that we like. Somebody did that and they may not have liked it. You know, I very early on that what the industry thinks or what anybody thinks, you know, you can say so-and-so is whack or this person's whack or that person's whack. But if they've got people buying the music, this is a business. And I work on the business side. I don't work on the culture side.
Exactly.
I work on the business side. So my goal is to help people make money with their music so they can feed their family.
And I did radio too in a far, far past where I was in charge of playing the music on the radio, and I wasn't going to pick and choose just stuff that I like. That's not what I'm running a station for. You know, you got to play what the audience wants.
You have to.
It's kind of like being a club DJ. You're going to play what the people are going to dance to. You don't necessarily only play what you dance to, because you're not even dancing as a DJ.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's that shows that, again, this position or these roles in the music industry are not for everyone, because you have to be able to separate your personal taste with the business side of it. And that's, again, going back to not taking things personal as well. As we are about to round it up, do you work with international artists, and do you work with artists that are not known yet? Yes, if they have a budget, you said.
With is not known yet. Eminem was not known when I worked with him.
Right.
Was barely known. Yes, the answer to that is almost everybody that I work with is unknown. International, no. And it's not because I don't want to, it's because I don't know the international market
yeah,
to be able to be valuable. And if I can't add value, I don't ever want to take somebody's money and not deliver.
Right. And this is where I'll come in after this live, because I'm based in Amsterdam and I work globally, and it takes a while to get to know the markets. But it's, obviously I'm not skilled in all the markets, but I do have a good hand in what works where. So I'm sure we can team up on some of the things. And if your artists want to go international, let's go.
Absolutely. And I love your honesty in saying that, because so many people will say, oh, I got this. I got every market.
And I don't got it. I'm trying to get it, though.
There's nothing wrong with that. And you will. You will.
Yeah. And this is also the thing. Everything changes. I mean, you and I grew up in cassette tape era, and now we're in streaming era. So even if you think you know the market, things change overnight. This is a fast-paced industry just as much as technology, because technology is involved.
And the music. So for all of the people that think hip hop is dead and the music is garbage, just wait a few years. It's going to keep changing around.
Yeah.
I've been listening to hip hop since 1980, and believe me, it's morphed and changed more time to tell you.
And it's coming back, certain styles. It's kind of like fashion. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so before we close out, is there something that you want to give out to the world, a mantra, a life motto, or some general advice to people in this time?
Two things.
Yes.
One is, everything you want is on the other side of fear. Do not let fear stop you. Just feel the fear, acknowledge it, and just move forward. That's what's worked for me. And if I'm not smarter than you, I'm not better than you. If it works for me, it'll work for you. And then the second thing is, you've got to learn how this business works. And I don't want you to just listen to me or listen to Pay. Do the research, learn for yourself. Make sure that what I'm telling you is true. Go do the research.
Get the facts.
Get the facts. And I have a YouTube channel that I set up for free. It's youtube.com/thisiswendyday. There's a couple hundred videos on there of anything that you could possibly want to know in music. Start there. Watch one of those videos. Watch a couple of those videos, and then go out and do the research. Those videos are a good starting place. It'll give you questions, and then you can go out and see if what I'm saying is true. And if not, find the truth. Find what works for you.
That's what I was going to say, because even the things that we're saying may not be applicable to everyone. Like I said before, there's no one strategy for all artists.
Correct.
So find what works for you while sticking to your to yourself.
Exactly.
Don't sell out yourself, or don't do things that you don't feel comfortable with just because it's been successful to someone else.
Exactly. I see Black Lick in the in the comments saying, "Don't forget 2020 vision." I did a series of 90 videos on Instagram about producing and rapping, and the business side of the business side of being a rapper, and they're also on my YouTube channel. So my YouTube channel is a hot spot for information.
Awesome. I'm getting the countdown from Instagram. So I'm going to take this opportunity to say thank you so much. I'm sure we could do another hour, so maybe I'll revisit our talk.
I would love that.
Later down the line. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Wendy, I'm so happy you did not leave us with your COVID, and that you got healthy and that you're back. Make sure you stay on the right track to do things for you. And I'm going to be hitting you up on the side about some business.
Please do.
Everyone,
Thank you for
Yeah,
this is so awesome of you.
thank you. I'm happy to do so. Thank you for being so awesome.
Thank you for being so awesome.
Thank you for all the information and knowledge. Thank you for being a role model to me in my business.
Thank you, love. I appreciate you so much.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye, everybody.
Bye. So, people, I will be back next week with some amazing guests. And yeah, thank you again for tuning in. Actually, on Wednesday, I don't have a talk. I'll be back on next Monday. So be safe out there. Thanks for tuning in and hope to see y'all soon. Bye.